Obviously, a major story beat in Star Wars The Bad Batch is Order 66 and its impact on the clone troopers. This is a pretty new perspective on Order 66, as previously we've only experienced Order 66 from the viewpoint of the Jedi, with a comic book here and there addressing how it affected the clone and their mental stability. Since Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 though, more emphasis has been put on Order 66 and how it directly affected the clone troopers, with Dave Filoni talking about in Season 7 the negative effects that it had on the clone army, changing them from more individuals to becoming far more droid-like and analytical, not to mention far more aggressive, which is something that is clearly on display in the Bad Batch. Order 66 took its toll on the clones as well as obviously the Jedi. Dave Filoni explained that the inhibitor chip essentially takes away a clone trooper's free will, and that by having their free will taken from them, this greatly impacts their own mental state. The voice of Star Wars The Clone Wars, D. Baker, explained that Order 66 was something that is impossible to overcome for a regular clone trooper. Unless their inhibitor chip is somehow damaged, 100% of the clone troopers would follow Order 66 because of their inherent programming. Again, this is a part of the clone troopers from the very beginning. Order 66 is ingrained within who they are, even if none of them can tell. Dave Filoni explained that he animates the clone troopers differently in the Bad Batch as well as Season 7 of the Clone Wars, making normal clones, or as the Bad Batch call them, regs, move more droid-like. In Bad Batch, we noticed that all of the armor of the Clone Wars has been washed white, and all of the coloration imposed on them by the Jedi has now been completely removed, signifying that even the uniqueness of many of the clone troopers is being lost, as in large part, the clones are now more akin to the droid army than they were in the years following when they served under the Jedi. What made each clone trooper unique and special is now being washed away, which is another reason why the clones are less effective fighters following Order 66. As was explained in the Bad Batch, what makes Clone Force 99 so dangerous is their ability to free think and engage in battle far more unique than any other clone trooper. This is what makes Clone Force 99 so effective, and this is what makes the clones drastically dip in their combat ability post Order 66, although obviously not completely. Unfortunately, the inhibitor chip was sort of a reset for many of the clones, and once this reset button was pressed, a lot of the personality that the clone troopers had developed over the Clone Wars was instantly wiped away. This was because, of course, the clone troopers needed to turn against individuals that they considered their friend. They needed to turn against the Jedi at all costs, and therefore, a lot of the memories had to be outright altered and wiped away from the Jedi. They needed to become more droid-like. This is why, again, the inhibitor chips is essentially a reset button for many of the clones, and why all of the color is washed away from the clone troopers in the Bad Batch series. In real life, a lot of what defines us are our experiences, and the way we felt during those many experiences, whether they be joyful or harmful and hurtful moments for us. To wipe them all away would be hugely detrimental to who we literally are as a person. Our mental health would suffer extremely badly. This is essentially what happened to every single clone trooper once Order 66 was enacted. Who they were was stripped from them. We also see a major change in the character of Crosshair, who before has no problems disobeying orders along with the rest of the Bad Batch, and scoffs at authority and following orders at all, believing that because he is an enhanced clone that they do things a certain way and a successful way. However, once his chip is enacted and enacted successfully, he begins a fixation on following orders, even saying good soldiers follow orders. His personality is somewhat stripped from him. The part that made him rogue, and in many cases special, has now been completely flipped on its head, as Crosshair is now just like a droid similar to his other brethren. His very personality has been altered by his inhibitor chip. In the Clone Wars Season 6, we also saw how this aggression was enhanced with Clone Trooper Tup, when Tup's inhibitor chip was enacted prematurely. We saw just how more aggressive Tup became, before this being a relatively mild-mannered clone. Anytime Tup sees a Jedi, he is filled with murderous aggression, an aggression that carries on through his personality. And this is exactly now what we're seeing in the Bad Batch. The literal personality of the clone troopers has been stripped from them. I would argue that the fate of the clones is just as tragic as the fate of the Jedi, as not only are the Jedi being wiped out by Order 66, but so are the clones. Who they are as individuals is now gone, and what makes this even worse, the force that caused them to turn on their friends is now getting rid of them as well. The the clones have little justice served for them at the end of the Clone Wars. They are cast aside and deemed inferior, just following the most traumatic event in all of their lives. Just like Anakin, the clones have now become what they initially swore to destroy, cheering at the destruction of the Republic when Palpatine deems it a new empire, losing what made them all special, washing away any of the marks of the Jedi Order. But there it is, my friends. Unfortunately, why the clone troopers grew to be so much more aggressive in the Bad Batch and post-Order 66. One of the most tragic aspects of the entire Star Wars mythos. But now I would love to hear your thoughts on this. How do you feel about how the Bad Batch has handled Order 66 and the clone troopers so far? And in your mind, what do you think the most tragic aspect in all of Star Wars is? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.